Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Dalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatta Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurpishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hriye Mancha Kalpacharubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Vedanta Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So once again a warm welcome to each one of you and thank you for joining. My humble pranams to all the devotees. Today in our session 4 we are going to enter into a new phase in the plan of God or Krishna. But before we do that, let me do a quick revision of what we have discussed till now. In the third session, Buddha comes or Lord Buddha comes. We had discussed that the Brahmanas or so-called atheistic followers of the Vedas, they were performing sacrifices and killing animals in those sacrifices for the sake of meat eating. But this is not something prescribed by the Vedas for Kali Yuga. It was wrong. It was, in one sense, cruelty towards the animals. So to stop that misunderstanding which they had developed of the Vedas and they're making those practices, Lord Buddha came. Lord Buddha's life was discussed, and then when he met these people, he told them then you should not kill the animals. So then the opposition was, but the Vedas say that the animal killing is allowed. So because they were too adamant and they were giving the arguments on the basis of the Vedas, Lord Buddha said, all right, I tell you not to follow the Vedas. You follow my teachings. Lord Buddha was a powerful incarnation of the Supreme Lord, so definitely they got convinced. They became influenced by his effulgence, by his character, his personality, his teachings, and of course the spiritual vibrations that were coming out from him. So like that, Lord Buddha converted many people into Buddhism. What did he teach? He taught morality. Be a good person. Don't be violent. Don't harm others. So right kind of life. Some of you might have seen the video, extra video link which I had shared in the group, Lord Buddha and Bhagavad Gita. So in that, the 4 noble truths of Lord Buddha, Dukkha, Samudaya, Nirodha, and Marga are explained with Bhagavad Gita shlokas. And then the 8-fold path of freedom, which is quite close to what we call Sattva Guna in Bhagavad Gita. So Lord Buddha tried to bring the audience to that level, the students to that level. But because he didn't directly speak about God, he did not deny God, neither did he accept God. Also, since he didn't accept the Vedas, what he taught is technically called covered atheism. Atheism, which is covered, because we discussed in the last session, atheism means two things: non-acceptance of God, and second, non-acceptance of the Vedas. So, because he did not teach about them, he did not deny them, but he did not teach them directly. That's why what he taught, that philosophy, is called covered atheism. Also, it is called voidism or shunyavad. Why? Because Lord Buddha taught about nirvana. Nirvana means material existence no more. We are going to come to that again a bit later on in the slide after the first few slides. So now let's go to the topic of today's session, day 4, where we shall see how from Buddhism, then it converted into impersonalism. How from voidism, Shunyavad, the whole country, most of the country of India got converted into Nirvisheshavada, impersonalism, because of the appearance of another great teacher called Shankara or Shankaracharya, also called as Adi Shankaracharya. So as you can see the screen now, today's topic is Shankara comes. So Buddhism had spread far and wide. After Lord Buddha's appearance, after a few centuries or few, maybe 100 or 200 years, there was a great king who appeared. His name was Ashoka. He was the grandson of Chandragupta Maurya. So Chanakya brought in Chandragupta Maurya, and then after 2 generations, Ashoka the Great came. So Ashoka, he liked Buddhism a lot. And that's why, because he was the king of a big province, so he thought, why not make my entire kingdom follow Buddhism? So Ashoka, he thought this is the right way of life for everyone, and everyone should adopt the Buddhism. In this way, Buddhism became the popular religion in the country of India, most of India. So here you can see in the map, Buddhism, as we can see, it started where? It started in Gaya, Bihar area, but then it spread to so many different places in India, and then it went on to different countries also. Then Buddhism got divided into different sections: Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana, also known as Tantrayana. So in different areas of the world, there are different these sections or sects of Buddhism. But this didn't remain in India for long. We'll see later how it didn't stay for long. It stayed for a few centuries. Good time. I mean, Lord Buddha had appeared somewhere 2,500 years ago. And then Adi Shankaracharya came in 8th century. So you can understand, I mean, it was like almost 1200 to 1300 years. Buddhism was very prevalent in the country of India. Now, Buddha, what did he do? Lord Buddha, he said, no Vedas, don't follow the Vedas anymore, reject the Vedas, right? So he said, so why? Because the Vedas were wrong? What do you say, true or false? You can put in the chat box. Lord Buddha said, don't follow the Vedas because the Vedas were wrong. True or false? Okay. Fine. So most of you are saying false. Yeah, so thank you, Param Gandhi Mataji. So not that the Vedas were wrong. That's why Buddha said, don't follow the Vedas. The Vedas were correct, but they did not understand the Vedas properly. Isn't it? That's the reason Lord Buddha said, don't follow the Vedas. So here, it's a simple example is given by the acharyas to explain this. What is Buddhism? What is the essence of Buddhism? The example is like this. Let's say a father or a parent sends his or her child to a school for education. And the child is a very, very notorious child, speaks nonsense at any time. So they send the child to the school for education. You go to the school, learn the lessons properly. The child goes to the school, but the child is always making noise. And when the teacher asks any questions, then the child gives a nonsensical answer. So the teacher gets fed up of the child. This boy is nonsense, never gives the right answer, passes, uh, wrong comments and things like that, creates disturbance in the class. So the teacher tells that child, you should never open your mouth in my class. You should always stay quiet. Don't open your mouth. Always stay quiet. Shut up. Always. Is that the reason why the parents send the child to the school, that the child should always remain quiet, should never speak? Or is that what the teacher originally wanted? No. The teacher wanted that the child should open the mouth and speak some sensible words. I mean, give the right answers in a very nice way. But when the teacher sees whenever the mouth is open, it only gives out nonsense words. So teacher says, better don't speak. You keep quiet. So that kind of tactic was used by Lord Buddha. The Vedas, they talk about sacrifices, and that has a purpose. And the Vedas also teach some very nice things. But because the followers of the Vedas in those days were having crooked mentality, cheating mentality, so they were not actually making the good use of the Vedas. So Lord Buddha said, stop. No need to follow the Vedas. And Lord Buddha also said, what is the goal of life? To not exist. Nirvana means stop existing. Is that the goal? That cannot be the goal, But Lord Buddha says, because if you exist, you are going to only make nonsense in the society, in the world, and create trouble for others. That's why the goal of your life should be, after this life, no more existence. Stop existing. But that's not for the sane people. That's for the insane people. That's why for those people who say the goal of life is to exist no more, to be no more, to be nothing, to become nothing, to become zero, to merge with the zero, to become void, to become completely peaceful, so much peace that then you no longer feel that you exist. So that kind of understanding or mindset is for those people who are actually insane, not for the sane people. A teacher would never say a sane student that you should never speak. No, if the student can give very good answers, the teacher will encourage that child. Yes, you should speak. You should speak very nicely. But the teacher will say, shut up always to whom? Who doesn't speak well, who is always speaking nonsense. So Lord Buddha told them the goal of life is nirvana, means don't exist anymore. Because if you exist, well, he didn't tell this part to them that you are nonsense, so you should not exist anymore. But the idea is this, that because if you exist, you shall create nonsense. Another way of looking at it is, it was a way of pulling them out of too much involvement in material enjoyment. So come out of the material life first. Didn't tell about the spiritual reality. Just told them to get out of material illusion. Didn't tell them about the spiritual reality. So the work was half done. Like we discussed in the number line, I showed on the last slide. Lord Buddha brought them to zero, brought them to a neutral point between the spiritual world and the material world, or spiritual life and material life, in between, at the verge of spiritual life, but didn't allow them to enter into it. So that's where he stopped. Lord Buddha did a wonderful job. He did what he came for, but a problem came in. What was that? For so many centuries, people stopped following the Vedas. I mean, majority of them. Some of them are still following the Vedas. It's not that 100% population will always become, follower of one kind of school of thought. Buddhism was the prominent religion, but doesn't mean that it was the only thought that existed in those days. There were devotees, Vaishnavas also existing in those times. There were impersonalists also existing in those times. All kinds of people were existing. So problem was that Vedas, they play a very important role. Vedas have been given by the Supreme Lord. They are divinely inspired. So Vedas cannot remain, away or out from the human society for such a long period of time. You need the Vedas for guidance in everything almost we do in life. So the Vedas have to be established again in the society. This was the next task. The Vedas have to be put again into their position, into the society. But now, if the Vedas are brought back, will they accept? Will the audience accept? Will the Buddhist followers accept? Will the scholars of those days, the Pandits, they will accept? They will not accept. So what was the trick used? Bring the Vedas with a twist. Bring a Vedas with a twist. What is the twist? Vedas are correct. Vedas are not wrong. They are words of God. But why Buddha told you to not follow the Vedas? Because you are not intelligent enough to understand the Vedic, teachings. Vedic statements, they need a lot of interpretation. They don't always have a literal meaning. The meaning is the message is like a, encrypted message. I'm sure you must have heard this word of encrypted message. Sometimes the message is changed so as to hide the actual message. So the Vedas are like that. So when they are talking something, you will try to take the straight meaning, the clear meaning, the direct meaning, but the direct meaning is not the right meaning. The indirect meaning is the right meaning. And since you did not understand the indirect meaning, you had to, for some time, do away with the Vedas. But now the Vedas have to be brought back into the society, and it has to be deciphered. It has to be interpreted in a way that people get the correct understanding of the Vedas. Interpret the Vedas in a metaphorical way, in an impersonal way. So why impersonal way? Why abstract God? Why not a personal God? Because if the Vedas were actually brought back in its reality, then the Buddhist audience would not have accepted it at all. It's like too much for them. Giving a standard 1 student directly the problem of standard 5 or 6, very difficult. So step by step. So don't worry, there's no personal God, but there is impersonal God. There is a universal force, something like that, abstract ideas. Now, this is very interesting. If someone of you has ever studied Buddhism or heard about Buddhism, they have a very abstract understanding of everything. The way they look at the world, the way they look at life, abstract. Everything is abstract. Symbols are there, not really personal approach. So for the Buddhists, this would have been very easy to accept. Okay, there is God, but it's impersonal. It's like a force, or it is light, or it is something which we cannot understand. It's not something very simple like a human form or something like that. No, something very complicated. Fine, we can accept it. So a God, not a supreme person, but a God who is an abstract idea, an impersonal force, had to be introduced. That was the next step. So someone has to do it. Another great personality had to come who would put the Vedas back into the society, do all this, intellectual exercise of giving an indirect meaning of the Vedas, which is not an easy task. I mean, one has to be very, very intelligent to do that. And also to be very powerful and realize so that that power can influence the existing followers of Buddhism to convert to this new teaching. So who came? Shankara came. Shankara was born in 8th century AD, which is almost like 1300 years after Lord Buddha's appearance, in Kerala, in a very small village called Kaladi. Very nice place. So if you ever get the opportunity to visit there, a nice place. Still, that beautiful place is there. I mean, people have made later on nice ashram there and related to Shankaracharya. So his father was a Vedic Brahmana, his name was Shiv Guru, and mother was Arya. So the boy was born with divine symptoms from childhood. Astrologers were invited to predict the child's future. So the astrologers said that this boy would become a great scholar, big scholar, and he would be like an elephant in the arena of scholars. And just like a wild elephant, when put into a banana plantation, destroys the entire garden or plantation of bananas. So this boy would destroy all the other philosophies and false religious doctrines, everything, and he will establish his own teachings. Father was very happy, mother was also very happy. So the boy quickly started learning. In a very young age, he became proficient in Sanskrit, and he had a prodigious memory. Anything he would hear for once, he would remember it forever. So what an average student would learn in 12 years, this boy would learn in just 1 year. Just imagine, 12 years of studies in just 1 year. So just in few years, he had learned so much. When he was 3 years old, his father passed away, which was a very sad, event in the life of the father and the child and the mother. So now only the mother and the child were left. It was difficult time for them, but they were peacefully passing their life. Whatever means they had, they were surviving with that. And the child grew slowly, slowly, slowly. He came to the age of 8. So when he became 8 years old, this boy, Shankara, he approached his mother. One day he approached his mother. And then he started speaking some learned words to the mother. So the first thing Shankara said, my dear mother, he was talking about the problem related to taking birth in this material world. The life of a man on earth is so miserable that sometimes he thinks, better I had never taken birth. I took birth, and since my birth, I am having so many problems, so much of suffering. So the life is so miserable. People sometimes think better I should not have taken birth at all. Then he goes to tell about the problems of death and says, even a dullest person, the most foolish person knows that this body is going to die someday. It is destined to die. One day it will be finished. Even a fool would not know so. So you can imagine Shankaracharya is saying, or the boy Shankara is saying, even a fool should know this, or even a fool should understand this, that the body is going to die one day. And then he says, but this doesn't happen just once. Okay, if it happens once, fine. It happens in a cycle. It keeps on happening. So a yogi, an intelligent person alone knows that in the cycle of samsara, one is born and one dies again and again, million times. Sometimes one is born as a father, then sometimes one plays the role of a mother, sometimes child, sometimes son, sometimes daughter, sometimes wife, husband, so on and on. Different roles the same person plays in different lives. So I have come to a conclusion. What is his conclusion? He says, therefore, true happiness and lasting happiness is only possible by transcending birth and death. One has to cross over this cycle of samsara. Then only happiness will be there. Otherwise, there is no possibility of happiness. So this is the gateway to self-realization. This is the boy's conclusion. So now he makes the request to the mother. So my dear mother, please permit me to embrace that state and strive to realize myself. Who am I? I want to know that. Allow me to take sannyas. That boy told the mother, allow me to take sannyas. Because if I take sannyas, then I can work towards crossing over the cycle of birth and death. Naishkarmya, basically. He taught the path of Naishkarmya. Stop karma and you'll be liberated. Stop karma, you'll be liberated. No bondage, so liberation. So come out of the family life. First thing, come out of the family life. That was Shankara's life and that was Shankara's teaching. So Shankara's teaching, if someone actually wants to become a student of Adi Shankaracharya or his school, then the first prerequisite is take sannyas. first that comes. Okay, become a sannyasi, then you will become a student. Because otherwise, there is no possibility to come out of the material life. Now you can imagine when the mother heard that, of course she was not happy. Only child, only support. And an 8-year-old boy, he's talking about sannyas. The mother said, don't speak like this again. Never talk like that again. What I want, I wish to see you marry and become a good husband to a good woman. So please, I request you, never speak of taking sannyas again. That boy was thinking, I want to take sannyas, but I have to take permission also from my mother. Without her blessings, I will not be successful in my ashram of sannyas. It's not good. She should not be sad about it. She should allow me. So after a few days, something happened, which eventually helped that boy to take sannyas. What happened was that that boy had gone to take bath very close to the village, Kaladi. There is a Periyar river. So he went to take bath. Mother had also gone for doing her household chores there. So then when the boy was taking bath, one crocodile came and attacked on the leg of the boy, caught the boy by his leg and started pulling the boy into the water. The boy started crying. Shankara was crying. And when the mother Arya saw that Shankara is in the grip of a crocodile, she also started crying piteously and calling for help. Someone save my child, someone save my child. But no one was around. And who can actually save from a crocodile? And the Shankaracharya was being pulled in and in and in and in. So at that time, Shankara, the boy Shankara told, Mother, there's one way I can be saved. Arya was more than curious to hear. So then he said, so the wise people, the learned people, they say that when you are in a danger, at the time of danger, if you say so, or if you pledge that you are going to take sannyas, then that danger goes away. So you please allow me to take sannyas. Then at least I'll be alive. What is the point of dying? Better let me live and be a sannyasi. So poor woman, she agreed. She had no other choice. She said, okay, my dear child, take sannyas. So at that time, that boy said, Sannyaso ham. I am now a sannyasi. I have renounced. Immediately that crocodile left from there. So the boy came out, the mother embraced the child. A woman, low character or who would speak untrue words, once she agreed, she would not say, now, turn back on your words. No, she said, now, since it's decided by the providence that you should take sannyas, take sannyas. My blessings are upon you, and may the Supreme Lord always protect you. So then that boy, taking the blessings of the mother, told to the mother, till now you have been my mother because you are feeding me. But now, anyone who feeds me is my mother. And anyone who teaches me is my father. Who will be my children? My students will be my children. And who will be my wife? Peace will be my wife. She will be my bride. She will be always with me. And solitude, that will be my bliss, Ananda. So that boy, 8-year-old boy, left, started walking. He went to many, many places. So he was now in search of a guru. He has taken sannyas, but then he wants a guru now. So many months passed, he was walking around to the countryside, covered many miles, hundreds of miles. So one day while he was in his journey, he was taking rest under the shade of a banyan tree. So he observed that close by, there were a group of frogs sitting very peacefully next to a cobra, which is very peculiar sight. Why it is peculiar sight? Because they are natural animals, as natural enemies, cobras and frogs. Snakes and frogs are natural enemies. The frogs, they are the food for the snakes. So how is it that the cobra is not attacking the frog, or the frogs are not running away in fear? So that boy understood something. He had learned many lessons from his previous teachers. So one lesson was that if in any place a very great sage or enlightened guru is present, then in that place all the people, they forget inimical feelings towards one another. Even natural enemies, they become very friendly, peaceful. It happens. So there must be a very, very great guru around, someone very exalted, because his consciousness, his peaceful nature is affecting the nature of the cobra and the frog and making them also peaceful. So I must find who that person is. So he inquired from the local people around. There were local villages around. So he inquired, who is that great person? They said, there is a great guru here. His name is Govindapada. Very enlightened personality. So where does he live? Asked that boy. There's a cave not far from here. He lives in that. So that boy said, okay. He approached Govindapada. So when he saw Govindapada in that cave, he humbly offered obeisances, and then he glorified Govindapada, spoke some words in his honor, in his praise. Looking at this 8-year-old boy, very good-looking boy, that great saint became very pleased, and then he accepted Shankara as his disciple. Accepted Shankara as his disciple. So then that great teacher, Govindapada, taught 4 sutras to Shankara. What were these sutras? We will discuss them one by one because they are important. So Govindapada gave these 4 sutras to Shankara. First sutra, Pragyanam Brahma. Pragyanam Brahma. Pragyanam Brahma means pragya, actually pragyanam or pragya is very closely related to the word consciousness. And Brahman is a Sanskrit word, very much used in the both personal and impersonal schools of thought. Basically, Brahman refers to that spiritual truth, absolute truth. So, Pragyan Brahman. Brahman is consciousness, or consciousness is Brahman. So, Brahman is that eternal spiritual truth, the goal, and consciousness is that Brahman. So, Pragyanam Brahman. That's what he taught to Shankara. That was the first teaching. First teaching. This teaching comes from Aitreya Upanishad, which is a part of Rig Veda. Then the next teaching was Ayam Atma Brahma. Ayam Atma Brahma. Ayam means this, Atma means soul, Brahma. So this soul is Brahma. This soul is Brahman. Consciousness is Brahman was the first one. This soul is Brahman is the second one. That was taken by Govindapada, means he was referring to this statement from Chandogya Upanishad, Atharva Ved. So the first one was from Rig Ved, the second one was from Atharva Ved. Then the third one is Tattvamasi, which is very commonly heard by people. Many people speak like this. Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi means you are that consciousness. You are that supreme. You are that. So he took that from Chandogya Upanishad, Samaved. The previous one was, from Mandukya Upanishad. This is from Chandogya Upanishad. And the fourth one, Aham Brahmasmi. Again, a very common phrase. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Taken from Brihad Aranyak Upanishad, Yajurveda. So Govindapada took 4 statements from 4 different Vedas, Rig, Atharva, Sam, Yajurveda. That's why, that is the reason, because this is the foundation of the teachings received by Shankara from his guru, and that's what Shankara is going to teach in future. The followers of Shankaracharya say all the teaching should come from the Vedas only, which means these four Vedas only. If anything comes out of these four Vedas, we don't accept it. Because here, all these four Vakyas have come from these four Vedas, Rig, Atharva, Sam, and Yajur. So what basically these four mean, some of you may understand, some of you may not understand. We will not go into so much of detail now. Later on, we'll describe these terms. So Brahman is consciousness. This soul is Brahman. You are that consciousness. I am Brahman. Basically, the supreme reality is called Brahman. And I am Brahman. You are Brahman, which means we all are Brahman, which means we all are just one. Everything is one. And everything is one, and that one is Brahman. So that is the understanding. There is spiritual reality, there is spiritual truth, which Buddha did not accept. But Shankara's teacher is teaching him there is spiritual truth. But what is that truth? That we all are one. Spiritual force or consciousness or whatever truth. And that is called Brahman. So this, after having taught like this to him, that boy was living in the ashram of the Guru for a long time, almost like 4 years. That boy stayed there, Shankara. Then one day suddenly Govindapada got a revelation. And the revelation was that this boy, Shankara, is not an ordinary boy. Don't think that he's some ordinary person or even just, an extraordinary student. He's a divine person who has come to this planet for a very special mission. So you should now tell this boy to go out of your ashram, go to Benares, now presently called Varanasi, and start his mission. He has come for that purpose. So then Govindapada told to that boy, go to the city of Benares. He gave this order that you go to the city of Benares. Benares has always been, in those days also and present also, has been the city of scholars. All different kinds of scholars exist in Benares and from different schools of thoughts, and they always argue or debate or study. So Benares has always been like that. Benares was heavily influenced in those days by Buddhistic ideas and also different other ideas. So that's why the Govindapada told you go to the city of Benares and there discuss with these learned people and give them the correct line of thinking. Now they are not thinking in the right way. So it's your mission now to bring them back to the path of theism. They have taken the path of atheism or covered atheism. Now you bring them back to the path of theism. Discuss with them, guide them, and it is most urgent. You cannot delay even one more minute. You must leave immediately. So at that time, that boy was 12 years old. Just imagine, at the age of 12 years, someone is giving you a mission. The Guru is giving you a mission. Go to a city full of learned scholars and teach them the right way. So who was this boy? Cannot be an ordinary boy. Who is this boy actually? It's given in the scriptures. Everything is there in the scriptures. So actually, this boy was sent by Lord Krishna. The description comes in 2 scriptures, which you can later on study in detail if you like. In the notes, I am going to give you many more verses for the reference of it. I'm not going to cover them all here. So basically, in Shiv Puran and Padma Puran, in 2 places, we find good description about it. Lord Krishna telling Lord Shiva that you please go to the planet Earth and then you teach this teaching. What is that teaching? We'll come to that soon. You do this teaching. Then Lord Shiva, he said, but my dear Lord, this is not the right teaching. This is not complete. This may confuse some people. So Lord Krishna said, yes, those who are sincere, they'll not get confused. They'll remain protected. But those who are not sincere and those who are atheistic in nature, they'll definitely get confused or they'll get misdirected. But I want them to be, I want them to get confused, But those who are sincere, they will stay protected. Don't worry. And you are yourself will also not become affected by this teaching. So though this is a very wrong teaching. Now, when we hear something like this, we may start thinking, how can God ever do something like that? I mean, God is trying to teach people, his own children, something which is not good for them. We should know, even in scriptures, when the statements come like God is trying to cheat the people or cheat the atheists or trick the atheists, that cheating or trick done by the Lord is not with ill intention. Never ever, because we do cheat people, or we have seen people cheating other people or trick people with the wrong intentions. We think cheating is always done with wrong intentions, but no, cheating can also be done for good intentions. Like, for example, telling a lie. I'll give a simple example. If a child is sick and the doctor has told the child, you cannot eat this, because it's not good for your health. But the child is adamant, I want it, I want it, I want it. So the child says to the mother, mother, have you put this particular, um, drink? There's different kinds of powder, like chocolate powder and stuff, things like that. So have you put it in my food, or have you put it in my milk, or have you put it in this particular preparation? And even if the mother has not put, mother will say, yes, yes, I did put. You say it doesn't taste like that. Maybe because you're sick, you're not able to feel the taste, but I did put. So that kind of lying or that kind of tricking the child is not harmful for the child. It's not bad for the child. It's good for the child. The child doesn't understand. So that's why the mother has to trick the child or lie to the child. And that tricking can be considered as cheating also. But that cheating is not done with the wrong intention. That cheating is done with the correct or good intention. So Lord Krishna, he wanted to trick the atheistic class of people. So he told Lord Shiva, you go and teach them this philosophy, which is not fully correct, but it is partially correct. So now this philosophy will act differently for different people. And what will be that will come to that in session 5 and 6, not today. So then Lord Shiva personally then discloses his mission to Mother Parvati, which comes in Padma Purana. He is telling to Mother Parvati, Mother Durga, that mayavadam asat shastram prachannam bodham uchyate mayeva vihitam devi kalau brahmana murtina. He says, O Devi, mayavadam asat shastram. Mayavad is the kind of the name of the philosophy which Lord Shiva was asked to preach or spread. Mayavadam asat shastram. Asat shastram means incorrect teaching or incorrect understanding of the Vedas. Asat shastram. Prachannam Bauddham uchyate. What I'll be teaching is covered Buddhism. What Lord Buddha taught was covered atheism, and what now Lord Shiva is going to teach is called covered Buddhism. Prachannam Bauddham uchyate. Mayeva, I personally will do, Mayeva Vihitam Devi Kalau Brahmana Murtina. And I'll appear in the age of Kali Yuga in the form of a Brahmana. As a Brahmana, I'll come. So who is Shankara? That boy Shankara is an avatar incarnation of Lord Shiva. So his name was also Shankara from childhood. It's Lord Shiva himself, who on the order of the Supreme Lord Krishna has come to teach Mayavad teachings. I take the form of Brahmana, explain the Vedas in a false way, in an atheistic way, similar to Buddhist philosophy. So what does he teach? Basically, he teaches that there is God, but the God doesn't have a form, doesn't have qualities, doesn't have attributes, So impersonal God is there in order to mislead the atheistic class of people, denying that Lord doesn't have a personal form. So that boy Shankara had now become Shankaracharya. He went to Benares. He had debates, discussions. He converted thousands and thousands of people into his disciples. He turned the tide of atheism, and by his extensive knowledge, deep realization, he attracted so many people to him. Then he started traveling all over India, and he went to north to Badrinath. There he established an ashram. Then he traveled all the way to east. In Puri, he made an ashram. West, Dwarka, he made an ashram. South at Sringeri, he made an ashram. So these are the four most important, you can say, ports or mathas of Adi Shankaracharya. Four places. And other places also he made, disciples. But these are the four main ashrams which still exist after 1200 years. Just imagine, they're still existing. So for day and night, for then many years then to follow, 16 years more, he traveled the entire country preaching Advaita Vedanta. And when he was 32 years old, in his 32nd year, while on his pilgrimage to Himalayas, he left the mortal world. So they lived for very long, just 32 years of life. At the age 8, took sannyas, met the Guru after a few months. At the age 12, started preaching, became acharya. Extensively started traveling from the age of 16, traveled for 16 long years, and at age 32, he left the world. So what he taught? He taught Advaita Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta. That's what technically it is called, Advaita Vedanta. He wrote many books, commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, which are very popular. Adi Shankaracharya, in those days and at present also, can be considered as a guru whose teachings are most widely followed. In those days also, he was the one leading acharya for the entire country. And for years then, in 8th century he came, now this is 21st century. For years and years, his teachings are, so deeply infiltrated into the society that people follow him, but they don't know they follow Adi Shankaracharya or their culture or their tradition or their beliefs or their religious, practices. They are all based on the teachings of Adi Shankaracharya. They don't know. So Adi Shankaracharya, his mission was to remove Buddhism totally. That's why you can see here in the map. Let me go back to the map which I showed before. Here in this second slide, we had seen the map. You can see this is like the current situation of Buddhism in the world. That yellow area, which is of India, it says historical realm of Buddhist. Means Buddhism used to exist, but it doesn't exist anymore. So who was responsible for removing all these Buddhistic understandings or practices from India? It was Shankaracharya. He was so furious in his preaching that the Buddhist followers, they fled from India. That's how they went out of India. And then they started, hiding themselves in the Himalayas, and they crossed the Himalayas, went to the different countries. So that's from here, India, then they moved to Nepal, Bhutan, went to China and towards the northern side or towards the eastern side or towards the southern side. But India became empty in the land of India became empty of that kind of school of thought. So that was a big victory for Adi Shankaracharya. He did, he fulfilled his mission. Now, what now we will do is that we will discuss the teachings of Adi Shankaracharya a little bit. Let me do one thing. Let me now ask you if you have any question about what we have discussed now. Already I spoke for a long time and I spoke many different things. So if you have any confusion or question till now, then you can ask. Then we have few more things to come about the philosophy. So if you have any question till now, you can raise your hand or put in the chat box. If not, we'll move to the next section. Okay, what do we mean by covered? Covered. Covered means you are asking this, right? Why is it called covered atheism, or why is it called covered Buddhism? Because it is similar to it, but it doesn't look like it. What Lord Buddha taught was similar to atheism, but did not look like atheism. It was covered. But if you dig deeply inside, then you say, oh, it is very close to, it's almost like atheism only. No, it's not something different from atheism. And what is impersonalism? It is covered Buddhism. So it's very close to Buddhism, but it doesn't look like it. Oh, it's something very different, something very advanced. Of course, it is a step ahead, but it's quite close to Buddhism. Was the Guru Govindapada already following mayavada? Yeah, he was following Advaita doctrine. We'll understand this little more in detail now, so then there'll be some clarity on it. What is mayavada? Why is it called mayavada? So he was following Advaita doctrine. Yes, there were Vaishnavas at the time of Buddhist and Shankara times. There have been Vaishnavas always. Vaishnavas are always there. So not that every single person would be follower of Buddhism, or every single person would be follower of Shankaracharya. Majority would follow, but Vaishnavas are always there. When Shankaracharya was present on the planet, there were great Vaishnava followers in the southern Indias. And the Alvars were there. They were also existing in those era only, in that period only. And they were great Vaishnavas. But Shankaracharya's teachings were prevalent, prevalent. Okay, he is the acharya for the country. Vaishnavas were in minority. Shankaracharya majority. When Lord Buddha came, Buddhism majority. Other all minority. When Shankaracharya came, impersonalism, mayavada majority. All others minority. Like that. So I think we can move on to the okay, we have some more questions. Lord's plan is for the entire world, not just the Indian subcontinent, but then that plan is still to unfold there. It will unfold in the future sessions. So till now, the plan is only till Indian subcontinent, when Buddha came, when Shankara came. But later on, that plan will also expand to the entire world. You definitely know how it will expand. So do we mean Buddhism will not lead to salvation? There are different understanding of salvation. For them, salvation means Nirvana. So Buddhism will lead to Nirvana, but it will not lead to salvation, what a Vaishnava thinks of. The word salvation, though is one word, can be used by a Buddhist, can be used by an impersonalist, can be used by a materialistic person, can be used by a Vaishnava, by different people, but it doesn't mean the same for all. It's not the same, it's different. The difference is simple. Like for Buddhists, the difference is, their understanding is Nirvana means don't exist anymore. Like we discussed on the number line, become nothing, zero. Become peaceful, but nothing beyond that. Shankaracharya takes it one step ahead. The coming future acharyas, they will take it another step ahead. So what will be that step, we'll come to know in the future session. In the last session, we'll discuss the final picture of who goes where, or what is the destination of whom. Could Adi Shankaracharya be called a Vaishnava? He is not Shiva, so he is a Vaishnava, but his teachings are not that of a Vaishnava. His teachings, like Lord Buddha is an incarnation of God, but he's saying that basically he's teaching atheism. So his teachings are not really, matching with what Krishna taught in Bhagavad Gita, or what God generally teaches. But he's avatar. Likewise, Adi Shankaracharya is a Vaishnava, because Internally, he's a devotee. He's doing everything by the instruction of the Supreme Lord. Hmm? But then his teachings are not that of a Vaishnava. What should be our mood towards Buddhists and followers? Our mood should be of requesting them to try to understand the philosophy of Vaishnavism and accept to it, because that will benefit them much, much more. That should be our mood. Okay, fine. I think now we can move to the next section where we'll discuss about Adi Shankaracharya's philosophy. So before I enter into that, it's related to it only. So we'll understand a philosophical concept now. We have to be a little attentive to understand it properly. In Srimad Bhagavatam, this verse is there, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse number 11. Srila Prabhupada used to quote it very often. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. What does this verse mean? Vadanti tat tattva vidas. Tattva vida means the learned people, those who know the truth. Vadanti, they speak. They speak of the truth. So those who are learned in the truth, they will definitely talk about the truth. So they speak of the truth, but they speak of the truth in three different ways. They all don't say that truth is just one, or they say the truth is one, but the truth is described by them in three different ways. Just like if I look at something from one angle, I may look at it in a one way. Someone else look at the same thing from another angle, looking at the same thing, but from a different angle. So that person may see something different. And a person looks at it from a third angle, may see it totally differently. So they all say that the truth is one, but this one truth is seen by these three different categories of people differently. Who are these three? Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti, Shabdyate. So one of them they call that the absolute truth is Brahman. The other they call the absolute truth is Paramatma. And the third they call the absolute truth is Bhagavan. So learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma or Bhagavan. So what Govindapada taught to Shankara and what then Shankaracharya taught ahead is that absolute truth is Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, Prajnanam Brahma. Like that. Brahman is the highest. That's the goal. That's the highest. That's the final thing. Brahman Satya Jagan Mithya. So what is this Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan? What is the difference between them? How do we define them? So Brahman is like a universal force, a light. Those people who meditate a lot, sometimes they go so deep into the meditation that they are able to see some bright light. Or those who are very learned, who are very realized, they also see some kind of light. Means knowledge is always compared to light, because basically knowledge is light, or light is knowledge in metaphysical understanding. So that Brahman is pure knowledge and it is pure light, bright, very bright. So God is that. That is one understanding. The people who follow that path are the followers of Adi Shankaracharya, the path of Jnana Yoga, the path of intellect. Try to understand everything intellectually, analytically. Try to understand the difference between matter and spirit. The result is, okay, because you think that is the goal, you get that goal, Brahman realization. End is what? Destination. There's this bright light called Brahmajyoti. They go and merge into that. They become one with that. That's the goal for them. You become that light. Become one with that light. What is the experience? The experience is peace. Because you are going to, you get the feeling of, being eternal. You will never die, which is a very satisfying feeling. I won't die. I can exist eternally without any problems in life. Which means basically you get free from material life. quite close to Buddhism, but a more described version of the goal. Lord Buddha just said you don't exist anymore. Here Shankara is not saying you don't exist anymore. He says you exist, but then you exist as the whole, the cosmic whole, the supreme. In joking way, I can say Lord Buddha said you become nothing, Shunyavad, and Shankaracharya taught you become everything. From nothing to everything, you become everything. You become that universal force, universal power. That God is you basically. So this is how then the teaching comes in simple terms or language. So many spiritualists, even in the present day, they teach this idea that God is inside you. You are that God. You are that supreme power. You have to find actually that supreme power within you. So they'll say Krishna is also that supreme power. You are also that supreme power. Lord Ram is also that supreme power. Shiva is also that supreme power. So then they can come up with such mantras. Shivoham, I am Shiva. So because Shiva is supreme power, Shiva is Brahman, I am Brahman, we both are Brahman. So we are same. So God is me, I am God, we are all one. There's no difference between each other. That's where this line of thought takes you or takes someone, Brahman realization, going towards Brahman. Paramatma understanding is little more developed. That God is everywhere, but that God is also present inside my heart. That God, though everywhere, is locally available in my heart. Locally available in my heart. Which means I can see that God in my heart. I have to look within. I have to look inside. So now the process of Jnana will not help. The process of Jnana Yoga doesn't take you inside. So which process? The process of yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, taught by Maharishi Patanjali. That will help for Paramatma realization. The result is one might be able to see that Paramatma within the heart. What is the destination? Now one may start thinking this Paramatma, this four-handed form of Lord Vishnu, which I am able to see in my heart, this is me. There is that possibility because there is no understanding of plurality. There is an understanding of singularity only. I'm sorry if these technical terms get little over your head, but maybe in future, if you don't understand it now, in future you'll definitely understand these terms as you study philosophy more. So there's no understanding of plurality. So they think this one thing which I'm able to see, because they're able to see only one thing, that is the four-handed form of Lord Vishnu. So there's only one truth, and that one truth is me, and that one truth is God. So God and me are the same because they are not two here, they are just one. In Brahman also, you see only one thing. So there is no difference. Okay, if the reality is one, and I exist and God also exists, then that reality has to be both me and God because they are not two things. There's only one thing. So that one thing has to be God also, and that one thing has to be me also. So that light is God and that light is me. Same thing with Paramatma realization. If they don't have understanding of plurality, then they'll say this Paramatma is me. And this Paramatma is God also. So again, God and me are the same. So the destination is let me become one with God. Let me become very powerful like God. Paramatma realization. And the last one is Bhagavan. This is the highest. Where one understands God is a person. He's a supreme person. And he has 6 opulences in full. What are those 6 opulences? Beauty, knowledge, physical strength, pain, renunciation, and opulences, right? Aishwarya, all in full, 6 things. And that the path to that is bhakti, devotion. Okay, God is so great, and I'm not that great, I'm small. So whenever this understanding comes that there are 2 personalities, one is great and the other is small, what is the relationship between a great person and a small person? Naturally, there's a relationship of respect, service. The one who is small will naturally feel like serving or respecting the one who is great. And that is bhakti. Bhakti is very simple, simply defined as that. That the small feels a sense of respect and also feels a sense of duty and service, if more developed than love, towards the one who is great. So the path is bhakti yoga, and the realization is okay, God is there as a person. I am also there as an eternal person. There are other personalities also who are like me, and we all can exist together. Plurality is there. Where? In the spiritual world, Vaikuntha Dham. In one of the coming sessions, I'll explain more of this with some diagrams, will make more sense. So a very simple example is given to explain this by the acharyas, that how different people may try to study the same thing but not have that same understanding. Once in a village, people were discussing about different subject matters. So one person told them, recently I saw a train. So they said, train? Some of them didn't ever heard about a train. What is a train? I mean, train, rail gadi, what is it? So he said, how can I explain to you? I mean, cannot compare it with anything. I'll have to show it to you only. So three villages, they got inspired. Okay, we will walk all the way to the station, which is miles and miles and miles away. And then we'll see what the train is. And then we'll come back to the village and tell everyone, how does a train look like? So they all, three of them, with the guide, went to the railway station. All of them were very excited to see how a train looks like. So when they reached the station, they were waiting. After some time, there was a big sound of the horn, and it was getting late, getting dark. So from the distance, when the train you see from the distance, you can look at the light which is coming from the big lamps which are in the front. So then, what is that? One of the villagers said, what is that? So the guy said, that's the train. Very exciting. That's a train. I was talking about the train. Oh, that's the train? Wow, I have seen the train. And he immediately went to the people in the village to tell, ran back. I should be the first person to tell what a train looks like. But did he see the train incomplete? No, he just saw the light coming out from the front of the train. And he thought, okay, that light is the train. And that sound is also coming from somewhere like that. That's the train. Then the second person and the third person was waiting patiently. They were waiting. The train pulled in, the cars pulled in. And the second person, is this the train? Yes, this is the train. So then he also, ran to the village to tell the people what a train looks like. But did he also look at the train completely? He saw the engine, he saw the car guns, the wagons, the cars which were there behind. But he did not meet the people who were inside the train. He did not see the train from inside. So he saw something about the train. The third person waited till end patiently. So the guide, he made that person meet the driver. He took that person inside the coaches, showed how it is inside. They even spoke to some people inside. And then after some time, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 1 hour spending, okay, so this is a train and it looks like this from inside, and there are people inside, there's pantry car, there's that. Then he very, in a relaxed way, that now I know what a train is, came back to the village. Now all of them are describing what a train looks like, but the descriptions don't match. One person says it's just light, big light. The other person says, oh, it's just a set of moving cars. And the third person says, no, there's food inside, there are beds inside, there's fan inside, there are different people from different parts of the country inside. Like that, if three people can have three different understandings of train, and first person's understanding is not fully right, It's not wrong. Also, it has some understanding. Yes, light is also part of the train. So it has some understanding of the train, but it's not the complete understanding of the train. The second person also had some understanding, but the third person had complete. Likewise, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan are understandings of the same supreme absolute truth. But Brahman understanding is incomplete. Paramatma, little more complete. Bhagavan, fully complete. Complete understanding of God. So when someone is Brahman realized, follows the Advaita path, gets to understand eternity. I exist eternally. I don't die. Eternity is the understanding. Paramatma is understood. That means all knowledge has also come. Spiritual awareness has come. And when Bhagavan is understood, then there is a different level of happiness experienced. Ananda. That Ananda is there in Brahman realization also, but not as complete as when it is in Bhagavan realization. Because when it comes to Bhagavan realization, then there is a relationship, there is rasa, there is friendship, there is paternal relationship, there is conjugal relationship, there is relationship of servant and master. So there are mellows in that, and that makes the experience very sweet. So these are three different ways of looking at God. What Adi Shankaracharya taught was the first level, Brahman realization, where there is an understanding, the sense that, okay, I'm same as God. We are one. And why is it called mayavada? Why is it called mayavada? That's something very technical to understand. See, so in the last session, one of the participants here, I think Sumati Mataji, she had asked me a question on WhatsApp later, that where did we come from? Who are we? Very intelligent question. I appreciate it a lot because you're going in the flow of the course. So if Brahman is that eternal truth, so then Shankaracharya has to explain how have we come from that Brahman. So what did he say is, okay, that Brahman is that complete truth. So from that Brahman, a small part of it, just like if I say there's a huge sky, this whole sky is Brahman. So from that sky, you take a small part of the sky, okay? And that small part of the sky gets covered with a cloud. It's sky only, but it gets covered with a cloud. So he says, likewise, that Supreme Brahman is there eternally, but from that Brahman, a small part gets covered by Maya, illusion. That small part gets covered by illusion. That part has not become separated from the Brahman. It's not like that part has got cut from Brahman, not like a piece of paper where you can tear a small piece out of it. No, it's still connected to the sky, but it is just that that small part has got covered by illusion, the cloud of illusion. And that cloud of illusion is called Maya. So what he's basically telling is Brahman, a part of it can get covered by Maya. And that part is not disconnected from Brahman. So that's why his teaching is called mayavada. That Brahman can also be covered by Maya. What was the problem? The problem was later on when the next acharya is going to come in God's great plan, Ramanujacharya, he is going to hit on this point that this is not logically correct. This is where you are going wrong. This is where there's a fault in your philosophy, and there is a fault here. And at this point, actually, if you meet any Mayavadi or even a great teacher of impersonal school, if you ask them this question, they'll get stuck. That how can the Brahman, the absolute truth, can be covered by Maya? Then you mean to say Maya is greater than God? Maya can cover God? Maya can cover Brahman? And then they get stuck. If Brahman can get covered by Maya, then how is it possible? Then they will try to, play around with words and say, no, it's not like this, not like that. So Adi Shankaracharya brought them there. He confused them basically and brought them there and got them stuck there. They asked, where did we come from? Brahman. How? A part of the Brahman got covered by Maya. Okay, finish. So that means Maya can cover Brahman? Yes, a part of it can get covered, not the whole thing. So then his philosophy came to be known as mayavada, which will be later on refuted by Ramanujacharya. He will defeat that philosophy on the basis of arguments from scriptures, explaining that if God can come under Maya, then how God is God? Then Maya is greater than God, then Maya is God, then God is not God. So this is how Shankaracharya teaching went ahead. Now, just two more slides are remaining. Let me cover that also, explaining how what is Advaita doctrine and where does Shankaracharya bring people or his students and leave them basically for the next acharya to take them further ahead. So Advaita Vedanta, Dvaita means dualism, two. Dvaita, two means God and we, two. Advaita means no two, only one. God and we are the same, one, not two. So it's called Advaita Vedanta. What Vaishnavas they follow, that is not Advaita. That may be Dvaita or Achintya Veda, which is very complicated. So then he says Advaita Vedanta. God and one, we are same, one. His teaching was similar to Buddhism because Lord Buddha also said, get out of the material world. Shankaracharya also said, take sannyas, take to renunciation. There is no happiness in material world. There is only birth and death. Get out of the cycle of sanskar. So he agreed with Lord Buddha up to that level. But then Lord Buddha said, don't exist anymore. He said, no. Don't stop existing. You exist, but in spiritual reality, as eternal truth, merging one with the Brahmajyoti. So Brahma Satya, Jagan Mithya. The world is false, reject the false. The Brahman is truth, accept the truth. So God and Jiva are one, and both are Brahman. That is Advaita Vedanta. It's a compromise. It's not fully theism, and we cannot say it is fully atheism. It is a step towards atheism. It's a step towards theism. So it is a compromise between atheism and theism. So if you look at the number line, impersonalism or Nirvisheshavada taught by Shankaracharya can be understood in this way. We studied this number line in the last session also. So the negative side is material existence. The positive side is spiritual existence. Lord Buddha, he brought everyone till this point, zero. No material existence. No spiritual existence also. Zero, neutral, shanti, peace, nirvana. But then Lord Shankaracharya pushed the, bar little more further towards the positive side. Don't stay at zero, come to one. Come to one. Brahman. Brahman is that one. Universal, what do you call? Being equal. On universal level, all are same, all are equal. There's nothing different. God is also the same as us. We are also the same as God. I and you are same. Everything is same. We are all equal. So come to that understanding. Come to the understanding of at least soul. Lord Buddha did not teach about soul. Adi Shankaracharya taught about soul. There is a spiritual reality. There is Atma. And that Atma is Brahman. Come to that. So he pushed the bar a little further. So all his writings, scriptural writings, are then pointing towards Advaita Vedanta. Someone may ask why he did not push the bar to two. No, because he has to teach to some level and then leave it for others to come and take it further ahead. And it's not that immediately everyone will understand. I mean, just to come from 0 to 1, it takes time. Now, once they come to 1, then they'll also be ready to go to 2. So he came, he taught till that point. Of course, because he was a Vaishnava, Lord Shiva himself. So in one prayer called Bhaja Govinda, what is there inside his heart? That came out. Though in all his books he has written, worship Brahman, become Brahman, you are Brahman. But in that prayer he said, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Murmate. Oh fool, oh fool, oh fool. worship Lord Govinda, worship Lord Govinda, worship Lord Govinda. Why he did not say Bhaja Brahman, Bhaja Brahman, Bhaja Brahman? Why did he say Govinda? Because at that time his Vaishnava inside could not help, and he wrote down that devotional poem that you chant the name of Lord Govinda, chant the name of Lord Govinda, chant the name of Lord Govinda. It will only help you. Nothing else will help you. So he taught this impersonalism, also called monism. So now let's summarize, quickly summarize what all Adi Shankaracharya has teach. First, he taught that one has to get out of material life, like what Buddha taught. Then he said, don't go for Nirvana, go for Brahman, becoming one with Brahman. You exist eternally, spiritually, as that universal force or impersonal light, and you become one with God. You are same as God. He taught that. Then he taught about the suffering, the miseries of material life very much prominently. So that was also a part of his teaching. That's why when you follow the path of Jnana or Jnana Marga, or those people who have come from Jnana Marg into even Bhakti Marg, they will emphasize renunciation more than necessarily required. Because Jnana Marg is all about renunciation. This world is very dirty place, very bad place, very sad place, miserable place. So that's the Gyan Marg. You have to criticize the material life too much. So they will do that. So they are following the path set by Adi Shankaracharya. So that is one thing. And then if you ask them that what about God having a form and all that, that is secondary. That is not primary. That is not the highest. Highest is impersonal. You ask them about Krishna, Lord Ram taking avatar, doing wonderful pastimes. Oh, great personalities can do such things, wonderful things. Even great yogis can do such wonderful things. And they are Brahman only. So why are you surprised? Brahman can do magical feats, but that Brahman has come into gunas, under the control of gunas, Sagun Brahman, and that's why he's performing all these magical feats. But ultimately, that is Nirgun Brahman. So, like that, the personal form of God is minimized, and the impersonal form of God is highlighted. What he did? He highlighted the impersonal form and minimized the personal form. Whereas the scriptures, they talk about both the personal and the impersonal. They talk about both. So that's why, because it was easier to focus on the impersonal through the Upanishads, Shankaracharya, he took the Upanishads only. He did not touch the Puranas. He did not touch Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Srimad Bhagavatam and the Puranas, they talk too much about the personal aspect of God. So then he he kept himself to the Upanishads only and preached from the Upanishads. Follow the Upanishads, follow the Vedas, follow Vedanta. God doesn't have a form, God doesn't have eyes, God doesn't have hands, God doesn't have legs, God cannot see, God cannot hear, God cannot walk, God doesn't have energies, God cannot have a relationship with you. So such things were taught by him. But there are fallacies, and we'll discuss about those fallacies in the next session, which will be on the life of Mangalacharna. So we'll end here. Any questions now? You can raise your hand and ask. I'll unmute the participants. You ask in the chat box. He gave us also beautiful prayers like Jagannath Ashtakam and other prayers. Yes, because he established one more thing which I did not speak about. Shankaracharya, he also established deity worship in many places in India. But then he did not give the correct understanding of deity worship. He established the rituals of deity worship. So many temples were established by him. So many places how the worship should be performed were established by him. But then he did not give the real approach, the devotional approach towards it. He set the floor, for someone else to come in future and dance on that floor, basically. So he set the floor for the next teachers, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya. And then later on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to make the whole thing complete. So that's why he did all those things also. So he called that as Saguna Brahman worship. But then Nirgun Brahman worship is more important than Sagun Brahman worship. Sagun Brahman worship is for those who are simple people. They cannot do Nirgun Brahman worship. But Nirgun Brahman worship is much better. Okay, so fine. Now Satyadevata Prabhu has a question. And there's one more question on the chat box by Kanaicharan Prabhu. Okay, Satyadevata.
Thank you for the session. Prabhu, this is connected to just one person was also, one devotee was also asking the same question.
ये filter से ही
Shankaracharya, sorry. Yeah. Shankaracharya, when we see he has written so many slokas, and I mean Jagannatha Ashtakam, so many are personal related things, the temples, deity worship processes. And today, even if we see the Shankara Mathas which are there, they do Chandramaulishwara Aradhana. Every day they worship Lord Shiva in a completely deity worship format. There's a format they worship every day and they discuss all that one. So they follow Chaturmas. They do. There is a lot of personal worship which is followed, no Prabhu. And all the slokas, if you see, also the sloka which he has written on Lakshmi, Narasimha Swami, so many things. It's all personal part, no Prabhu. So why are we saying it's completely only impersonal? I could not connect that one.
See, the personal or impersonal is not decided by what mode of worship you accept. Like, let me make it clear in this way. If I worship a deity, of course the deity is going to have a form, yes. Right? If I worship a deity, then deity is going to have a form, isn't it?
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that just because I'm worshiping a deity, I'm a personalist. While worshiping a deity also, I can be an impersonalist. Because you are looking at the immediate action. You are not looking at the intention, the purpose. By worshipping this form of deity, what do I want in future? What is my goal? If the goal is that by worshipping this deity, at the end, I want to reach that impersonal Brahman effulgence and I want to become one with that Brahman, then that is not called personal worship. That's called impersonal worship. Because the goal is impersonalism. The method, the approach might be personal approach. Fine? But the goal is not personal. But if the goal is this, that, okay, I worship this deity because I want to serve this deity in an eternal relationship also. I want to be a servant of this form which is going to exist eternally, then that becomes personal worship.
So this is determined more by the goal rather than the form of the worship.
Yes. That's why even one can be one can externally be engaged in devotional activities and not be a devotee. If it's just doing the devotional activity, that what makes a devotee, that's not really how we define a devotee. For example, anyone who chants the name of Krishna should be a devotee of Krishna, but that's not so. People who chant the name of Krishna, they may also chant the name of Krishna for making money. So will you call them devotees? Or will you call them professional chanters of Krishna's name? That person is chanting the name of Krishna, and which a devotee also does. But then that person is chanting the name because by chanting this name, I'm going to get 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 100 rupees, 1,000 rupees. So what is he chanting for? Money. So then you will call that chanting as a profession. You will not call that chanting as bhakti because the goal is money. Likewise, an impersonalist may worship a deity, but the goal is what? By worshipping this deity, because it becomes easy to meditate on the deity, no? If I have to meditate on a bulb or on a light, so difficult. But if I meditate on a deity, very easy. So I meditate on this deity, I serve this deity, but not with the idea that in future I will become a servant of this form for eternity. No. I want to become one with that Brahman. This deity is also that Brahman. I am also that Brahman. In future, will become one. So then that's called impersonal approach. So even the impersonalists or Mayavadis, they chant the names of God. Even the impersonalists or Mayavadis, they do deity worship. Even they go to temples. They also do vratas like the Vaishnavas they do. They also go to holy yatras. They do everything what a devotee might do, but then they don't do it with the same goal. That makes it different.
Yeah, Prabhu, related question, Prabhu. What should be our mood when we see Shankara followers, the sannyasis who are of different mutts, in the 4 mutts and kind of things? So how should we approach them if we come across them or something like that?
Oh, I mean, mood in the sense what? Like,
because in some shastras, in some understanding, it is written from the Vaishnava philosophy that you should be 1,000,000 miles away from a Mayavadi.
well, it doesn't mean like that. If a Mayavadi comes on the same road as you, then you just run away from that road. What it means that you be 1,000,000 miles away, they're not talking about physical distance. It means you be millions of miles away in philosophical understanding. In your where your heart is and where the heart of the Mayavadi is, right? So millions of miles away in your understanding of who God is and what I'm supposed to do in my relationship with God. In that way, don't go close to a Mayavadi. Don't think the way they think. That's how we have to be far from them. Not physically, we run away from a Mayavadi.
Understand. It means basically one should not even listen to their lectures and kind of things. Is what is the understanding one should be away from Mayavadi?
Yeah, of course. I mean, why would you listen to someone if you're not interested to know anything from that person? Simple. I mean, for example, let's say I don't have any interest in cricket and I am interested in learning violin, music. So why would I spend my time watching cricket matches or reading books on cricket or anything of that sort? It's waste of time for me. No, I'll invest that time in learning music.
Understand.
So if basically if I am on the path of personalism, then how is Mayavad philosophy going to help me? Anyway, it's not going to help me. So why will I spend my time in that?
Yeah, philosophy is a part I understand, but yeah, okay, I'm trying to understand. Okay,
it's wrong investment, no? It's wrong investment. You're investing in the wrong place.
And why is it said that atheists are far better than Mayavadis?
Why? Well, now the thing is that different times, different statements may be made because of looking at things differently. Atheists are far better than Mayavadis in this sense. Like, let's say there's a person who is innocent, in the sense, innocent person doesn't have proper understanding of God. And if you preach to that person, may take to proper understanding of God. So he was an atheist who can easily become a theist. But then a strong-headed Mayavadi, it will be more difficult for him to make a proper Vaishnava because he's like, though he knows everything, he doesn't know them properly. No, he doesn't know them properly. He knows everything. He knows the rituals, he knows the mantras, he knows the names of God, he knows the pastimes of God, he knows everything. He knows the philosophy, but at the same time, he is blind because he doesn't see it correctly. So then it is a more difficult job to convert that person into Vaishnavism. So in that sense, a person who doesn't know anything and doesn't believe in God because of lack of faith or lack of knowledge, then if you preach to that person may get easily converted into theism and a Mayavada.
Prabhuji, just related one last one, Prabhu, because the Shankaracharya has established the 4 mutts, he has established the lineages, and there are gurus who are following in the lineage, 32nd Shankaracharya, 33rd, it's all continuing. So it is not their fault to follow their guru, right? I mean, they have taken shelter of their guru and trying to follow what their guru has preached. They are listening every day, reading every day. So is it their fault by taking a shelter of a guru?
No, it's not their fault. But then the only thing is that they should grow. An example. Again, a very simple example. You are in standard 2. So you should be very loyal to your class teacher in standard 2. Learn everything what the standard 2 teacher has taught. But then if you think my standard 2 teacher is the whole and soul teacher, there is no teacher better than this, and no one can teach me a better understanding of this subject than this, then that is called childishness. So, okay, you learn the lesson in standard 2, you're a very good student, very loyal to your class teacher. Now you go to standard 3 also. Go ahead. So why stop at 1? Come to 2. If on that number line, if someone is a follower of Buddhism, why stop at 0? Come to 1. And if you are at 1, why stop at 1? Come to 2. Now, if someone is at 1 and then says, I have reached the end, I have the complete understanding now, that is foolishness, no? And if they say so, what they are doing is something wrong, because they don't really have complete understanding and they say, we have complete understanding. If let's say you are in that position of a teacher, so you teach something to your child today, and then when the child grows, you teach something higher level to the child, and the child says, but Papa, you taught me this 2 years back, and I'm not going to learn a new lesson, I just want to stay there. That child may say, I'm being loyal to what you taught me 2 years back. But you will say, beta, but I'm the same teacher who's going to teach you now something higher, so you should learn. So they should understand, okay, Adi Shankaracharya came, but what Adi Shankaracharya taught, why he taught that, who is he? He's Shiva. Acha, is Shiva? Not Shiva, he's a Vaishnava. So that means he did not teach us something which actually he knows. So now let me, if I'm really faithful to my guru, let me become a better student now. So those who thought like that, they became better students, and then they evolved also. And those who did not think like that, they got stuck, thinking how much we have learned, this is the highest. There is nothing more than this. So then that person is not growing now. That person got stuck.
Yeah. So basically, Prabhu, my understanding earlier was because different schools of thought were always considering all these are alternative schools of thought. That's the reason I think everybody, whichever path they stick, they try to continue in that, because they do not see that one, this is lower path and that is higher path. If they're all like monism in one path, Vaidism is one path, or Vaishnava is one. That's how I think many of them believe it. That's the reason they do not think that my path is smaller and there is something higher, I should give up this one and go for that one.
Yeah, and that is there because of ahankar. What is that ahankar? I am the best, my path is the best, my teacher is the best. Right? That natural tendency is there in conditioned soul. My guru is the best. Why my guru is the best? Not because my guru's teaching is the highest, because I am the best and I chose my guru, so my guru has to be the best. No. But humility is, I still don't know a lot. I have to learn. And what you brought is a very important point, even for someone who's on the path of Vaishnavism. In even devotees society and circle, I have seen devotees get stuck at this. Maybe they find some devotee, they come across some devotee, and then they decide, okay, this person is my only guru for my whole life. If I have to learn something, I'm going to learn only from this person. Why they think like that? Because they think I'm the best, and this person, because that person has come into my life, has to be the best. So this person has to be the best guru, which means I need not learn from anyone and everyone. But that's not the holistic approach. The holistic approach is that spiritual life is always an ever new experience. There's always a new learning experience in spiritual life. And I can always get better and better teachings. Now I'm not ready for those teachings, so those teachings are not being given to me. But whatever is being given to me, if I properly follow that, then I'll get a promotion. And when I get a promotion, I might get a higher teaching from the same guru, or I might get a higher teaching from a different guru, or I might get a higher teaching in a different life, or I might get a higher teaching in a different way. So a Vaishnava is always open to this thought or this idea that I am a student always. I am a disciple always. I'm going to learn always. And that's why he's always making promotion spiritually. But most of the people, they get stuck. They just get stuck there itself. I have learned this much, and this is all it is. I don't need to learn anything more. This is the path. Finish. That is born of sense of pride. You know? But it's not like that. So that's why you'll see in Vaishnavism also, what Ramanujacharya taught it is Vaishnavism, and it is complete actually. But then what Madhvacharya taught is a step further. So you can see in Vaishnavism also there is gradation. And then what Madhvacharya taught is complete. But still, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught is further ahead in that. So one has to be always growing in spiritual life. That's why, our session, what is the whole understanding we are trying to develop in this course? We are not studying different disconnected subjects. That Buddhism is a different disconnected subject, and Shankara's teaching is a disconnected subject, and Vaishnavism is disconnected. We are trying to study this whole thing as a university, a school with different classes, right? And one has to get promoted from one class to the other class, because that is God's plan. That's how the course has been designed by Krishna, that you learn these different things at different levels.
Prabhuji, can I ask one more question if it's okay?
No, Prabhuji, I'll ask others. Then I'll come
please,
to you.
Please.
Okay, so now some more questions we have on the chat box. Buddha says material world full of miseries, get out of it. We also say, what is the difference? I think we already answered this. Buddha says get out of it, but then go where? Go to Shunya, void. Vaishnava say get out of it, go to Vaikuntha Jagat, Golok Dham. So there's a different destination. Sumati Mataji. Like in Buddhism, there is a technique of meditation prescribed for person upscaling the path of spirituality. Do you have a method listed in God's great plan? Okay, so meditation prescribed. So yes, there is a meditation prescribed in God's great plan also, and that meditation will be given by the greatest teacher in God's great plan, Lord Chaitanya. So we'll come to that meditation in that lesson. So that is for upscaling one's consciousness. Okay, what is Sagun Brahman? So Brahman is that spiritual reality. That Brahman is without any qualities, without any color, form, attributes. Sagun means you add all those things to it. So when you add a form to Brahman, when you add a taste to Brahman, when you add a color to Brahman, a quality to Brahman, when you give a name to Brahman, that's called Sagun Brahman. So Brahman is Nirgun. When you say Krishna, then Krishna has become Sagun Brahman. Krishna is bluish in complexion. Okay, Sagun Brahman. Guna means what? Attribute, quality. Sagun means with guna. Nirgun means without guna. So you add any quality to Brahman, that eternal reality, then it becomes Sagun Brahman. Makes sense, Prabhuji? Can I challenge Prabhu? Oh, sorry, Krishna Prabhu asked that question. Makes sense, Krishna Prabhu? Sagun Brahman. Are you there? Yeah, you're there. Okay, I think no more questions. So last we'll come to Satyadev.
Yeah, Prabhu, thank you for the opportunity, Prabhu. Prabhu, let's say there is a college student he's not exposed to any kind of philosophy or something, he has multiple options. It was not his fault. For example, there is a Buddhist person who are trying to come and preach in their college or something, or there could be a Shankara philosophers who are coming and preach in their college, or there could be a Vaishnavites who might be coming. So it could be an opportunity when they get exposed to some philosophy, like let's say like a Shankaracharya classes are going on, he attends. In his mood, he thinks that I don't know anything. I'm listening to somebody, so they know more than me. So what they're saying is right. So let me follow that one. So that will be the mood of the student when he thinks. So he might pick any path. Let's say he might come across a Buddhist monk, or he might come across a Shankaracharya, he might come across Vaishnava, whatever it may be. He might come across and he will follow that one. So, and that person is not in a state to determine what is higher philosophy. Hey, this guru, what is he teaching is lower philosophy. There is something higher than that one. He is not in a position to judge that one. So he might take a path and get carried away in that path and try to follow that one. So in this situation, when you are mentioning about that, some need to judge what is correct, what is higher, and then accordingly follow.
Okay, right? I got your question.
You got my question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you see, what you are assuming is that everything happened just like a random chance in the life of that boy. He got a particular kind of teacher. But then I don't really appreciate this way of thinking, because then this is like my life is just a set of, experiences based on chance. That person has come across such situation in life, that person has come across that set of teachers in life, that person has got some attraction towards that philosophy because of connection with the past. There's Krishna sitting as Paramatma in the heart. So any people we come across in life as teachers, it's not just a chance, it's an arrangement. It's an arrangement. You were naturally inclined, or you wanted to have some experience of that kind of approach. So then you found such kind of teacher. So we should not think that it's just like everything is happening in an unorganized fashion. People come across one another, people come across teachers, people come across philosophies, lives, cultures, lifestyles, all those things, not just as a matter of chance. It's so much related to one's past life. It's so much related to one's desires. It's so much related to what one is looking for. So if someone has just accidentally come across Buddhist philosophers and has started practicing Buddhism, why you call it accidentally? That person may not know that he might have a desire like that sometime in the past or in the past life. Don't know. So it's not accidental. It's not accidental. No.
So it's not our choice there. Okay.
It's your choice, no? Basically, why it's not choice? You decided sometime in the past, so now the arrangement is made for you. Isn't it? It is your choice only, no? That arrangement is not made, that it's not being forced upon us. That suddenly someone came in my life, or we can say interfered into my life. No, that was desired by me. So that kind of arrangement has been made, or it has come to me as a karmic reaction. Isn't it? So it's not that it is just accidentally happened. So now, like, we have these many devotees, or not devotees, or whatever, participants in the course God's Great Plan. So now some of us may say, we accidentally bumped into this course, or we accidentally got into this course, but this is not accidental. We may, if you look at the immediate cause, we may say it's accidental, but we don't know. It might have a remote cause. It might have a history that you wanted to know this subject matter, or maybe this course will give you answers to questions which were not answered for a long time. So many things are impossible, isn't it?
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can I ask one question, Prabhuji? Last question.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. A very nice session. Okay. Okay, yeah, according to the Shankara, the history and all that, like it is claimed in many books that he has win over across so many kind of concepts. Okay, and it is been mentioned that like it is final thing he has win over in Kashmir Pitam and something like that. Like it has been mentioned that that is the highest philosophy. Okay, some of the people sometimes argue saying that it is because Adi Shankara has told that is correct. Okay, I try to convince some of my friends, okay, saying that that is not the last, because I started picking up this maybe from last 1.5 year, 1.5 year, Prabhuji, okay, through ISKCON, all these things. But how do you tell people in 1 or 2 sentences, okay, or easily, that there is something beyond to that? I convinced, okay, but how do you tell very easily the people?
See, not everyone will understand or accept it, no? Not everyone will understand. They have their own choice to follow. You can't force someone to upgrade himself or herself, right?
Yeah, it's not forcing, but easily, how do you tell is my point, Prabhuji.
It's not all, some things cannot be just said so easily also. I mean, like we are discussing, it's a big subject matter. You cannot make someone understand it in just one line, right? And if that person has that inclination, then you don't have to even explain so many things. You just have to say, okay, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, so follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And you say, okay, I'll follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Isn't it? For someone who has to accept that, you don't have to tell them such complicated things. You just tell them, this chant Hare Krishna, and they'll start chanting Hare Krishna, right? But for some people who don't want to understand, even if we explain to them, they'll not understand because they're not ready for it yet.
Okay, okay.
Not
They're
ready
not
for
ready.
it. They're not ready for it yet, right? So let's give them their time. Let's not push them.
So may not be in this birth and some other birth they will. That's what we have to conclude. Okay.
Yeah, we have to be. I mean, we have to try. Okay, you accept it, fine. You don't accept it, okay, no problem. You're not ready for it. You're not ready for it yet. But if you get ready, then I'm ready to give to you, isn't it?
Yes, Prabhu. But one question I don't understand, because at the age of 8 years, he has given a sloka on Mahalakshmi and she has given the gold coins. Yeah. If you see the entire history of then he can't convince that Krishna is the supreme personality of the Godhead.
Prabhu, it's easy to show miracles than to change people's minds. Showing miracles is not that difficult thing, but to change people's consciousness, it's not that easy. Why it's not easy? Because in consciousness, that person has to change himself, basically, I should agree to change myself, then only I can get changed. Otherwise, even God is not going to change me. Right? Why are you questioning the power of Shankaracharya? Why are you not questioning the power of Krishna? Krishna could have changed Duryodhana's mind, no? That, okay, Duryodhana, let me do a magic on you, and from now onwards you are going to be a very good devotee. don't think like a demon, isn't it? So that kind of forceful change is not even done by God, because it's going against the right of that person to think in the way that person wants to think. That's called freedom. That's called free will. And Krishna has given that free will to each one of us.
Okay.
We can only request that person, we can only help that person to grow or to change, but we cannot forcefully make that person go through that. Not possible. Even God doesn't do that. So what to speak of acharyas doing it, or teachers doing it, or anyone doing it?
Understood. Yeah, this is the question I used to always get, why it is not happened. Shankara could have done that. Okay, I understood now, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you all very much for waiting for a long time to this session. Went really over time, almost like 2 hours. So thank you so much for being with us, and we'll meet again on next Saturday. We'll discuss about Mangalacharana. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Gaur.